John's girl.
I hope she shows up.
Yeah, me too. Um, I mean, we've been talking today. She said she's all excited, da da da. And then, I said, have a great day. That was like at 11 this morning. And then but I just told her,
Does she know the time difference and all of that?
well,
She
yeah,
would know that, yeah.
yeah, she's in Florida and she knows. And I told her it's tonight at 6. And she's
Okay,
like, all
cool.
excited. And yeah, so I don't know. We're coming close. And she hasn't really sent me a friend request on Skype yet, though. It only takes a second once it happens. So I'm not that worried about it. But it may be you and me. I'll just talk. That's okay. I got plenty to say.
I just hate when they wait to the last minute because you're sitting there going, fuck.
And you've said it to him like 9 times in a course of 2 weeks, sent him the fucking link 3 or 4 times. It's like, dude, when I send it, I mean, go do it right this second is kind of what I mean.
Exactly, yep. I've got guests like that too.
Christ, I get procrastinating. I really do. But this is one of those things where then all of a sudden, oh man, it didn't work. Yeah, I know. And we could have figured it out yesterday, huh? Fuck.
I've had that happen with guests that I'll email them like every week. And I'm like, it's coming up. I still don't have you on Skype. Oh yeah, don't worry. I'll get on it. And then like 2 days before a show, still don't have you on Skype. Oh no, I'll get to it today. And then it's like at 10 minutes before the show. And you're like, God, man, it's exactly what you said. Like, what if it doesn't work? What if your mic sounds like shit? What if,
then
you're on air.
It was like, right, like that guy it'll take 5 minutes, dude.
Yeah. Well.
It's weird for such a popular method of communication. It seems like almost no one has it. I've talked to so many people. Oh, I don't have Skype or I don't use Skype. I'm like, well, I mean, sorry, it's not my decision. It's like the radio. You know what I mean? It's like we need to.
Skype is actually, I don't know why people, tech people, dude. They fucking always need the newest thing. That's why I got sick of the One Great Work Network. Like, it's like, no, we're not on Discord. Now we're on this one. No, we're not on this one. We're going to this one. And then we got this new one. I got like 9 ways you can get a hold of me.
Yeah.
And they always, and then they want to add another one. I say no now. Like I flat out, if somebody messages me and says like, oh, go on this one, I'm like, nope. You got 7 ways to get a hold of me. If that's not good enough, fuck you.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
Like I don't like.
Speaking of fuck you, yeah, I've got a bone to pick with fucking Brandon Spencer and whoever the fuck Theo Lux is. Yeah, I got an issue with them, so I'll probably say something about it. I'll be nice, but like, basically blow them. They're douchebags, dude. Straight up, like they fucking censor. They are just full of shit ultimately. And I wouldn't care if it wasn't so much that like they seriously like preach, like out of one side of their mouth, find the truth and this truth. But then they literally fucking censored me.
How do they censor you? See, I don't keep up with chat, so you'll have to explain it.
I'll tell him. I will. I'll tell you.
I don't watch. I know what you did. I know you said something about flat Earth, and you told me that a couple days ago.
Right.
And that's the last I heard what happened. So.
Yeah. No, and it got out of control because of me though. And then I left. I left the fucking group, dude. He fucking tried to tell me to fucking you're gonna get stung. He's like, if you don't calm down, you're gonna get stung. I'm like, bro, I want to say about fucking 15 things right now that you're lucky I'm not, and I just left. I didn't say shit. I just fucking left. Oh, I wanted to say a few things.
Yeah, but what does stung mean? I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
He was gonna fucking ban me or you've been kicked out for 3 days or some shit. Who knows? He thinks he's got some sort of fucking authority over me. Doesn't matter what it actually ends up meaning. He tells me, watch it or you're gonna get stung. How about fuck you, bro?
Yeah, why can't people just have discussions? I don't know, whatever.
Because they're weak bitches. That's why. Because they can't. And seriously, oh, dude, everything I did, I came from the stance of I don't know what it is. Let's talk about it. No, I know it's a globe. And oh, well, I think you're mentally retarded. And I didn't say that. I'm just saying that's where I'm at now. That's where I'm at. You sit there and preach this shit about we're the truth and we are the truth and blah, 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 the globe. You sound like a fucking retard.
Yeah, it's Jesus, dude.
I mean, it's not a matter of saying it's flat, dude. I don't give a shit. I'm saying accept that it's not a globe, dude. We should at least be able to agree on what it isn't.
Well, yeah, that's where I stand with it. That's where I stand with it.
Verifiably, bro. Oh, it's retarded. So yeah, I'm saying something. And luckily I got to get some of that out now, so I'll be a little bit more mellow about it on air. But fuck both of them, dude.
Your mom's probably looking at you right now going, oh shit. Is she close to you?
Yeah, she's right next to me.
Tell her I said hello.
Oh, I will. Mama Rick says hello.
She's probably going, who the fuck is Rick?
She knows who you are. She knows I'm on the radio show.
That's
She's
awesome.
kind of a little bit off today though, so she's a little bit she's just a little bit chill. Let's just say that.
I was doing really good until the weather in the last 2 hours. It just did this massive change.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. I've got plenty of energy, so I'll do all the bouncing around if necessary.
Oh yeah, I've got chat going and stuff, and I told Greg, I said, like, go in the chat, fucking chat it up and ask questions if you want. I mean, we'll be all right. Fuck, I'll get out of this tailspin.
Oh yeah,
it's just a snow. We got a big snowstorm here, and it changed like within 20 minutes. And anything that's sudden like that, weather-wise, kills me.
Oh, I'm sure
that's the worst fucking thing that could happen to me. But I gotta call in.
Okay.
So yeah, studio. Wait a sec. Revolution Radio. Okay. All right, I'll call in.
Peace.
Yeah, I will see you on there. Okay, there we go.
Interesting content. Made with you in mind, people that matter the most. On Mondays at 12 a.m. Eastern and 11 p.m. Central, only on Revolution Radio Studio B. Be a part of a different way to hear radio.
Become a master survivor and get the news you can use from Dr. Johnny every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.org on Studio B, and get the Master Survivor Show Beyond PhD. Because of his military Mar-a-Lago contacts, Dr. Johnny will bring you in-depth intel that you will not hear anywhere else, whether it's from the political arena, outer space, or natural health breakthroughs. Dr. Johnny delivers the goods every week, bringing you hope, health, and happiness, but most important of all, the truth about our world and providing the tools to help you survive and thrive. So what are you waiting for? Tune in to The Master Survivor Beyond PhD every Sunday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Studio B, on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.org.
Join me on the Brian Ruhe Show on Revolution Radio, Eastern Standard Time, every Tuesday night from 6 to 8. We talk about the four most vital things, in my view, affecting all of humanity. Number one is UFOs and aliens and their agenda for the advancement of humanity. Number two is the Jewish establishment's control over all aspects of human civilization. Number three, the truth about Adolf Hitler, how he was the opposite of what we've been told. Number four is advanced ancient global civilizations. Join me on the Brian Ruhe Show, Tuesday nights from 6 to 8 on Studio B on Revolution Radio.
You are entering the Crypt, Rick, and Jonathan zone, and it's time to get smart.
We are going to be discussing truth, freedom, independence from the system, and yes, even the darker side of things.
This is information that will set you free.
Get comfortable, get focused, and in turn, get smart.
You are listening to the Crypt, Rick, and Jonathan Show.
Welcome, everybody. It is, of course, the first show of 2025 for Jonathan and I. That is so cool. I want to wish everyone listening a happy 2025, a happy new year. I hope everybody had a great new year. I know Jonathan and I spent some of our new year bringing in the new year right here at Revolution Radio, which was very, very cool. I got to talk to some of the hosts here. We had a great conversation. It was great to see and talk to Ahmad Painter. I've not talked to him in a long time, so it was great to chat with him once again on air, and Willow and everyone else. And you guys in the chat were amazing. It was a great evening, actually. So thank you, guys. It was really cool. I was happy to be here, happy to be doing this show still. And yeah, don't forget, guys, listener supported here, as I say every week. Please go to revolution.radio or, of course, freedomslips.net. Just go to the donation tab. There's lots of ways to donate. There's cryptocurrency. So they got Bitcoin, Cash, and Ethereum. direct pay for North America. There's snail mail, of course. And we've got Patreon, which is awesome. You can send them out. You want to donate, and they take care of the rest. And I always say no donation is too small. It all adds up. So please donate if you can, because it is strictly your guys' donations that 100% going to keeping the lights on here and all of us host here and just keeping everything going. It is through you guys, and that is so cool to be a part of. So thank you guys. And I'm excited. 2025, Jonathan. What do you think, my friend? It's who knows what's going to happen this year.
Well, yes,
it's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. Yes. Man, I don't know. It's going to be crazy. That's for sure.
I know, right?
I've been watching some crazy videos like the TikTok stuff where there's, I wonder if that'll work. Where they kind of go over all the crazy TikTok videos that would be stuff we would talk about on our show, right?
Okay, yeah, cool.
But it's just, man, one after another. And you find some really good channels on there, honestly. Like you pause it and you can read the thing in the corner and you can be like, oh, that's where I go. And I've gone onto YouTube and found a few. There's this one guy that talks about the suits of armor and the swords from back in the day. And how
you brought that up on the New Year's show for a minute. That was cool.
Did you watch those? Because
I got the video you sent me. Yeah, we were talking about it.
Yeah, there's two of them. They're like 10 minutes each, but man, they're really cool about just how swords were more of a laser beam weapon, man, because there was like free energy at the time. So the suit was the knight in the suit was the Faraday cage. And then like you read stories, and this dude was going on about how the stories were like the knights would stay in their suits all day long. Like they would not show themselves. They would like hide away. Then they would come out of the castles in their suits, and then they would be gone. You would never see them out of their suits, basically. Some stories reported them sleeping in their suits. Oh, and it's like, why would they do that? You know, and so water and food had to be put into the suit. And so it's like, so they weren't seeing out of those little slits or whatever they would consider the holes for them to see. That's not what was going on. And then he shows pictures of like this giant worm coming out of the chest of one of the knights. A knight's sitting there with its like helmet off. And then this worm is like popping out of its chest and basically being its head. And you're like, these are paintings.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then he even showed how in a Game of Thrones, there's a character wearing one of those suits. And he basically is that reptilian, undead, never gets out of the suit, never eats, can't be killed. No one questions it in the movie, he said, because I didn't watch that shit. That's not my thing. I don't care. But a lot of people, no one questioned it, I guess. He's like, you guys all sat there and watched this character in that show over and over and just saw him and never questioned once what he was or who he was or where he came from, nothing. And they didn't really explain him. And this dude's telling you, he's like, they were telling you.
You never watched Game of Thrones, eh? See, I love medieval stuff. That was I remember
who I know, and I'm like,
I used to draw like when I was little, I would draw medieval knights and stuff like that. Like I love the armor. Like if I had endless money, I would be one of those guys collecting suits of armor and that. Some of them are so incredibly beautiful, and it kind of makes me think. I mean, you think of the money it cost for these suits back then, and some of the intricate carvings and designs, and some of them are so elaborate and beautiful. They're definitely not for a battlefield.
Well, he's like, you wouldn't be able to fight in it.
That's a good. I always wondered that even when I was a kid. I was like, how do they even move like in those suits?
Demonstration of different people charging up weapons and like fucking zapping people with lightning bolts. And he was himself in a suit of armor for a Faraday cage. And it's like, oh, well, now it makes sense. It was a different battlefield back then. It looked way different. Wow. They weren't chopping people's arms off with swords. Not like we do today. Much different thing.
Definitely interesting, right? I remember always fascinated too. I can't remember there was a castle that this guy built for his wife. I'm sure the listeners will be screaming at what it is. I can't remember the name of the castle, but I remember there was eyewitness accounts back in the time that this guy was moving big stone bricks building this castle, and there were like two ups, like ice cream cones that you put your ice cream in. They look like that. And he was holding two of them, and he would move the rocks, the stones, these great big, like megaton stones or whatever they weighed, making this castle for his wife. Maybe somebody in chat can tell me what it was, but I remember watching the thing on that story, and it would.
Coral Castle down in Homestead, Florida, which is probably what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
He was in I want to say Romania or something, and then he loved this woman.
Right.
And he
Yeah.
left, and he couldn't marry her, and so he came over here and he built this castle, and then he built it all out of granite, stone, bedrock, coral granite bedrock in Florida. And then he had built a bunch of it. His name's Ed, like Leedskillin or something like that. Leedskallens Dale or I can't remember. Leedskillens. It's Ed something. Ed Coral Castle, and you'll find it.
Okay, yeah, that's at Coral Castle. Thank you.
In Florida, yeah, and he's got all sorts of shit. What's funny is he's got a points to a true magnetic north thing that he built, and that's also yet another tell that we are on a basically stationary, whatever we are. It basically takes the motion part of the lie out of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the other one? Oh, the Venus problem.
Yeah, that was an interesting thumbnail that you sent with the Georgia Guidestones.
Right. Well, but then the one below after that,
the one after that, yeah.
So the Venus problem takes away the heliocentrism part of the lie. Because if you can see Venus at night, we are not orbiting around a sun like they tell us, right? And there's a million other reasons you can find it, but it literally, like, that one thing means it's not like that. There's no other proofs necessary. If you can see Venus, which you do, at night, it means that it's not like they tell us, period. As far as, like, we're not orbiting the sun. It can't be that way. It just can't. I mean, just based on that one thing. Now, does that mean I know what it is because I know it's not that? No. No. And I was just like telling you earlier, I had to leave a group because people won't they're living in such cognitive dissonance. And honestly, I'll tell you straight up, dude, I'm just calling people out and using names because it's bullshit at this point. It's people that follow Mark Passio, and they're all ingrained. They have their head so far up his ass that they just listen to what he says and they don't look. And so they push this globe theory shit. And again, I don't want to get into it that much, but like there was this point where I had basically backed out of the idea of sharing my flat earth stuff, if you will, in this group that was a bunch of Mark Passio people, the One Great Work Warriors, and they want to share truth, and that was their big thing. Truth, truth, truth. We're all about truth, truth. Okay, cool. But only if it's this flavor or that flavor, because no other truth matters, and we're certainly shit not trying to talk about the shape of the earth. Well, okay, that sounds like you guys have some sort of trigger. Again, following Mark Passio, that would do that. You know what I mean? Like, just be yourselves, okay? And if you're really focusing on truth, guess what? The globe is a lie, and it's provable. And Theo Lux, bro, whoever you are, you trash mouth, running your mouth on that thing, and then Brandon Spencer being the little bitch and censoring me and not allowing me to speak, dude, on what you sat there and trashed me and called me retarded, and then I don't even get to speak. You guys are bitches, dude, straight up. And I challenge both of you to a debate, straight up. And I wouldn't have a problem with you because you don't like the flat earth. That's not my beef. My beef is that Theo comes back on and basically calls me retarded without actually sending the message to me. So it's like walking in the room and after somebody just said something about flat earth and then like looking off to the left a little bit and going, anybody that talks about flat earth is a retard. I mean, that's the most passive-aggressive, weak-ass shit I've ever seen. Message it directly to me if that's what you think, tough guy. And then defend your shit. You know what I mean? You say in one of your posts on there before I left the group and had any of this out, I just left. But then show me, bro. Show me all your math that proves that it's a globe. Show me. Come on, let's have a debate. I'll be nice. You can show me, dude. Show me how I'm wrong. Because I actually was showing you how it appears flat. That's all I've ever said. Observably flat. I didn't say it was flat. I said it's observably flat. And I was posting something to show you that. And then Brandon Spencer came in and rescued the truth. That's what he did. He rescued the truth from being shown. Because you guys are heroes. You're champions of the truth. You're true researchers. I'm sorry, it bothers me. Your jokes. Your jokes.
I can tell,
but you yelling at people about how the truth, and then censoring people. And again, I didn't even bring this up. This wasn't my fight. Theo Lux is the one that decided to post some stupid cartoon bullshit And so I just nicely reposted another meme that was like, well, let's just have a nice debate. It's not, nobody was being mean or anything. And then it immediately got sent that way by Brandon. And then Theo came back and just saw my two nice posts. The one basically proving heliocentrism can't be the way they say it is because of the Venus problem. All right. Didn't even address that. Just started calling me retarded. And that you can see that it's a globe. Bro, show me. Show me. Because they had a whole bunch of people just go down and do a whole great big, ooh, we're gonna show you the sun and all this shit. Don't, that's retarded. And of course those people faked it. So when you sit there and you would say, oh, the flat earth is just a psyop. Oh, clearly there's a huge psyop in it. I mean, the main characters across the board, most likely, all of them are. Yeah. And it took this long for them to kind of get ferreted out. I was like, what was the point? So that they could say, yeah, it's flat and get everybody on side and then go down there and go, oh, well, we were wrong. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, yeah,
because again, I'll be done in 1 second. But no, again, okay, at least I am not, and most people in the real flat Earth community are not saying that it's like flat. We're saying we don't know what it is, and that what we can observe and test, basically, except I have to go far and beyond that and call it concave, but it appears flat, and your numbers on your globe don't work. So we should just be able to agree on what it's not. Again, that's all I'm saying.
I mean, we're all seeking truth. I mean, that's definitely true. And wherever that may lead you, I know I've never seen a topic trigger some people like, well, there's a few topics that get this kind of reaction and stuff like that. And flat earth is definitely one of them. So,
it's just, I know it's so retarded too. It's like, dude, it's not, I wasn't even really bringing up flat earth. I mean, honestly, within that concept, there's multiple aspects of it. There's the heliocentric part, right? There's the is there motion or not part. I mean, there's multiple, and then is it flat or round part? I mean, there's multiple things, dude. It's not just one, oh, flat, duh. It's like, it's that way if you don't research it or look into it at all. But that's all I'm saying. It's like, don't come at me with any attitude if you won't even look. You got no say if you're not going to even look. I mean, honestly, within that concept, there's multiple aspects. Turn your radio down now. Heliocentric part, right? There's the is there motion or not part. I mean, there's multiple, and then we got to hear me say that all over again.
Yeah, what is it? I don't even know what happened.
Well, I brought Jerry on.
Oh,
she was listening to the show, so we were getting like a full echo.
Okay. Well, I just want to comment, because so you said that you would definitely debate Brandon or Theo if they want to have a discussion, a civilized discussion about what you were speaking about. So, yeah. I mean, that's the challenge that you put out there. And I want to say I get it. I mean, like I said, I know these topics get people heated, and I'm not for censorship. In anything. I mean, I think that people should be allowed to speak what they feel or what they believe. And I always say, like, how do you combat bad information with good information and not censoring it? So I'm not for censorship at all. So, I mean, I'm definitely, like, I speak with Brandon every week. We do the One Great Work Warriors. I think we do an amazing job, all of us, covering and asking questions. We're seeking truth. So I respect him for that and for what he's, we're trying
I respected him all the way up until the other day when he censored me.
Yeah, well, I don't agree with censorship.
That's all I'm saying. Now my opinion has changed. Yours doesn't have to. And
I know.
And there's multiple aspects of him that I'm sure are a great dude. But don't censor me and think I'm going to come and be cool about it, because I'm not.
Right. And that's what I was saying. I don't agree with censorship. I mean, even in my video chats on YouTube or Rumble, the only thing I would ever delete is when somebody starts spamming links to all these different things. That's the only, and now I have it, so you can't put links in my comment section. I didn't know.
I would even give you, had it gone on back and forth for a while, and it was like, okay, it's getting old, stop, right? Yeah. And then didn't stop. I could see even then saying, all right, I said stop, I'm deleting that shit. No. It was literally the first post to any being called retarded, basically. It's like, oh, really? And then no, I said no. And then if you don't stop, you'll get stung. Like he had some sort of authority over me to sting me. Like, ooh, are you going to ban me from your channel? Ooh, am I going to not get to watch you guys talk about morality again? Shucks.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, dude, I'm pissed off. Don't fucking censor me.
Yeah.
I'll be right. Gotta get some water. And I'm cool. Like I said, and I'll have a good debate about it. But hey, you know what I mean? I let my shit out. That's why my powder's dry. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And so our guest is here. We've invited our guest, Jerry, and that's our friend St. John. That's his it's his better half at this moment. So that's how we know her. And I've only talked to her a couple times, but she seems very well in the know about a lot of stuff. And I'll let her kind of really talk about whatever she wants. But I do want to say real quick that one of the things I heard from John was that you remember our friend Jim Gale?
Yes, of course.
And how he's building a school that's going to be kind of like sign up when you're in kindergarten and graduate at high school kind of thing. And there's going to be a crew of kids and they're going to start and go through it. And that's going to be the thing. And so there was going to need to be teachers and all these other aspects. And so, well, Jerry, I guess she'll have to give her own accolades because I don't have them in front of me. But she has an impressive resume, so much so that when she reached out to Jim, he basically put her in charge of the school. So I'll stop there because that's all I know. Yeah, right. And so I'll let her continue and then you can talk about whatever you'd like, Jerry. So it's great to have you on our show. Good to meet you.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you, Jerry.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys too. Wow. Well, I first want to just hold space for your moment of being censored. I have been on both ends of that. When I censored someone, I realized I was wrong because I was being a militant vegan. And I changed. And so I, hope whoever did that to you, looks into themselves and realizes where they went wrong. And I hope they change. Yeah. I'm sorry that happened.
It is what it is. And like I said, it's really more what Rick said. It's this topic freaks people out. I don't understand. They've gotten so jaded. It's like, just look into it then and be done with it. But you got to do it for yourself. You can't listen to other people. No one's going to tell you it's anything.
Right. And if it's not, I just feel like if someone's getting triggered over something, that's something that they need to investigate within themselves versus yeah.
Right. I should not be able to bring up a topic once. I mean, again, I was warned and threatened already in that group to just keep my mouth shut about it. And I did until someone else posted something about it. And I was like, cool, well, then that's my opening. I'm kind of like playing nicely, right? Like, I'm not going to say something, but he said something. So now I feel like I should be able to. And no, you don't get to. And he gets to call you retarded. And then you keep your mouth shut. Okay. So.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely trying to let go of those types of relationships in the coming year for myself. Yeah.
Well, it's part of, I think, how it's being tested. It's like, because I've said I want to do that as well. So it's like, you can't do that without kind of being tested and actually go through it. So it's cool. Yeah. And I've lost a lot of people and groups and friends and things, and it's cool. It's cool.
It's like Jerry said, which is really cool, is and I've talked about this so much on other shows about, really being aware of what triggers you. And that's something when you start doing it, it's really a great thing to do for yourself, because when I react to something, whether it's good or bad, if I have a really strong reaction to something I hear or I see, or I get triggered by something, I immediately want to examine why it triggers me the way it does. I think that's, part of your shadow work, whatever you want to call it. I always say confronting your demons, but shadow work seems to be what people call it now. And I just think that's really important. Why are you being triggered this way? Why does whatever topic it is, whatever is being discussed, if your reaction is triggered that quick, you have that triggered reaction, there's a reason. And I'm just saying to kind of dig a little deeper and find out why, or try to examine why you're having that reaction. It's really helpful. It's helpful. It was for me.
Yeah, for me as well. I realized in my own journey that like I was forming an identity around my diet, and I was like, why am I doing that? Like it's just, a choice, and if the goal is to convince people of something, how am I accomplishing that by being militant about it?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And identifying with any of this stuff, it was like, Rick, remember the other week I said, well, who are you? Right. And it's like, not what do you do, not what's your job, not what do you like, not how tall are you, not what race are you,
Right.
not what's your name, like who are you? And that question really starts to get into the essence of yourself. And it's kind of a hard one to answer at a point, because you start peeling off all that stuff. And a diet is just, it's just another aspect of it.
Right.
No, it's an ideology. It's an ideology, and it's an important one though. And and when you find something like that where it really like is true for you, it makes you passionate and you want to share it with people. And then there's a line where you can cross it, and then you become militant, we've all experienced the Christians that behave that way, and then we've all also run into Christians that are just like damn good people, and they know the same stuff and they think the same way, but they just don't bother you about it, and they might mention it once in the whole time you've ever known them, and you're like, whoa, you're how the other ones need to look up to. You're who the other ones need to look up to, and they don't even know it. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's just a balance. Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
John was actually inspirational for me in terms of realizing this about myself, because like he's not plant-based, but he's like, I'm more likely to like go with a plant-based diet if I see something good in front of me. Like, what about like a cooking show? And I'm like, oh yeah, like just like showing through example versus like trying to convince.
Yep.
Yeah. I love the work, like where you guys are talking about the work on exploring yourself, and I think that's so important. I think I keep saying something that's really people are not doing enough of, and peeling back, like Jonathan said, peeling back the layers of like all your belief systems. Like, why do you believe the things you do? How did your beliefs get in there? Like, were they like kind of put there, or were they stuff that you worked on and figured out yourself? And you'd be shocked when you start doing this exercise. It takes a while to get down to who you truly are. We've been so bombarded since we were born, basically, and our identity is. And I always say, but I was, kind of shows my age, but there wasn't an internet when I was younger, so I think it was a little more simpler of a time that we didn't have all this information coming. But I think people are so naive if they don't think that all this social media and all this information coming at us isn't affecting you, and not putting things in there that you're not really maybe thinking about, that you're not deep thinking about. It's just a reaction. And then you dig in the trenches, and then you won't move from that. Some people just dig in and get really rigid. And I think it's a great thing that we're speaking about, that you have to start peeling back the layers of who you truly are to get down to that core, who you truly are at the core, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it.
And it's kind of like being in a diamond mine, and only having one arm in one hand, dude. So if you've got a diamond this big, okay, and you're carrying it, you have got to set it down and let it go. If you find another one, even if what if it's prettier? Ooh, it's a little smaller, but it's better. It feels more righter. So you pick that one up, but you have to set the other one down then. It's just how it is. You can't carry both at the same time. And so for truth, you can't form truth around what you want it to be. I know a lot of people that do that. And those are the people that refuse to look at stuff. Doesn't matter what it is. The giants from back in the day, nope, don't want to look at it. Pyramids, even just pyramids found in like Grand Canyon and stuff like that, and they know there's some in whatever Antarctica is. Nope, don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Like, really? Like, well, can we talk about anything weird and cool and fun? It's not like, oh, TV says this and Trump's doing this. I don't want to talk about politics. I don't care. It's a theater.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about Brad Pitt or we can talk about Donald Trump, I suppose, but just realize that one of them is a live open air theater and one of them's recorded and sent out on a DVD. That's it. I don't want to talk about that, man. I want to talk about real shit. And most people, because it doesn't fit into their world, they think they're doing the right thing by voting for Trump and then doing the good thing and beating those bad guys. And
it's whenever I encounter someone in our community that voted for Trump, I'm thinking like, did you not see what he did when he was in office? Like the shutdown happened under him, the warp speed happened with him. Like, let's not forget that,
He's definitely the lesser of two evils. And I didn't vote. And I mean, I think no voting would be the right way to do it. But honestly, no, that's never going to happen. So then if you're going to vote, I can see voting for Trump. But I mean, it's almost like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because the system is what it is. It's not going to change until it collapses. And if you like the people that are giving us this fake voting show would install who they want regardless of what we do if we decided to not vote. You know what I mean? They'd be like, oh, right. Well, you just want dictators now, I guess. Okay. I mean, it's like we're at that point. We're voting and not voting. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not going to go vote and be like, oh, I hope Trump, because whatever. I understand it. But, man, even if you are thinking you're doing something, because clearly last time he was voted in, like, huge landslide.
Right.
He just stole it. And we're like, nope. And then people were like afraid to even say that because they might go to jail. Like, wow, dude. Oh, and now we're not there. And so that's why, see, they put us through that to put the fear of God in us. So that when they let up on that, like now, oh, everybody, it's all better and everything's cool now, man. Trump's in. So now whatever weird dictatorship he does, they're going to be cool with because it's Trump doing it.
Right.
I'm just saying that's how you get the ball down the field.
Right.
With what they're trying to do, So, I mean, it'll be interesting, but I think food forests and stuff like that are a good way to go.
Well, yeah. So, sort of answering your question, about how I sort of arrived at working with Jim for the Freedom Farm Academy. I've been in and out of public and private education and going back to this idea of peeling back the layers. Well, what happens when we raise a child without any layers? Like, what does that look like? Let's not put any layers on. Let's let them be. Let's follow their lead when it comes to what they want to learn and what their interests are, and support them in that growth process of whatever they become. And sort of like a seed, right? Like the essence is there, even in its seed format, right? And it's just a matter of just nurturing that. And I was talking to my friend Dustin Plattner, who I know has been on your show, and like just thinking about like what this school could look like. Like we might, with the upper grades, like read some esoteric literature together and do art projects based on that, and obviously infusing permaculture. So it's a very alive project right now, and I'm collaborating with obviously Jim and his business partners, and also Susan Terry from the Peace Schools, which is a very they're up to some similar child-led Waldorf-esque nature permaculture curriculum. So yeah, I've just been sort of thinking in general, but like what a kid looks like without the layers of indoctrination, so that these sorts of things don't happen in adulthood, where people are being petty and trivial over identity layers that aren't even really them,
Right.
That's right. Yeah, Jim and Gail was like, I remember when I interviewed him, we had him on the show too, Jonathan, a while back, and yeah, really interesting, and I learned so much. God, it's such a great idea. Like I just really, admire what he's doing. I just think it's, and I've heard people say, well, you know, you're not going to change the world by planting food forest and that. And I'm like, well, I see all pluses for doing it. So it's a step in the right direction.
See, and then who says who?
Well, people have said it. I've heard people say, like, it's not going to change the world, you know, like that we have to, it's not going to change the way the world is if you just start planting food. And I'm like, I don't agree with that. I think that's a great thing for people to see.
Yeah, I can tell, I can feel the mentality of that statement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I mean, I think that, like, so inspirational if you can have, like, a community where you have this big food forest or multiple food forest, and people see you doing that and they're taking part in it, like actually taking part and taking care of the area, and which doesn't need much after a few years, from my understanding. It doesn't need much care. It kind of let nature do what it does.
But then
kind
you
of thing
have to maintain, and
yeah,
there's still a, you know, and the ignorance of that statement that people do make is like, dude, first of all, the first step is when you do something like that is you assume massive amounts of responsibility for yourself. When you do that, just starting it, just the venture of going, you know what I'm going to do? And you've already changed your neighborhood. You've already changed your house. You've already changed yourself. So the ignorance of that statement, whoever would make statements like that,
I've heard it.
Just planting food forest. I know who makes statements like that. And it's the same people, dude, that I was bitching about earlier. They think they know everything. They think they know everything, and that they're the only ones that know it. And it's just like, you're ridiculous. There's a million ways to fix this place.
It's going to take a million different ways.
If that's your goal, I don't think this place is for fixing. I mean, that doesn't mean to not have it be good. I don't think this place is meant for us to come here and fix. If you think that about this place, you're misguided. You can make it nice. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not what I'm saying. But in the end, when it all gets shit on like we're about to, that's how this place goes. That's where we are. See, and again, that goes back to, well, I guess the shape of it. It's figuring out, where are we? Because we've been lied to about it on purpose for the sake of keeping our consciousness locked up. So there's, again, layers peeling off.
And it takes the one thing that it kind of is really interesting to me too, is that it takes the creator away, which, you know, that's what they try to do. They try to take God or creator, whatever your God or creator is, not my business, but they try to take that out of the equation. Mm-hmm. That's, I think, what the big psyop really is. I mean, like, the more I think about it, and my thoughts can change as more information comes in, but it does seem that way, is that's what they try to take away is.
You know, and it's funny because the people that usually from the globe side will say that it's meant to divide. It's a psyop meant to divide the truth community. Dude, people can't decide what color to make the background on the meme, okay? And agree on it. Like, everything divides the truth community because it's not the lie and we don't know what it is. So, like, yes, you can say that, oh, well, because now there's a bunch of people thinking it's flat. It's like, well, but then a bunch of people looked into it and realized, holy shit, it really does look flat. And the numbers don't match. And then now that's why there's a community. It's that simple. It's just that simple. Looking into it, right? So, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah. And I think ultimately, like, there's a way people can hold paradigm shifting ideas in their mind with neutrality that don't have to, like, I have not looked into flat earth concepts deeply. I'm not opposed to looking into it. You know, I'm willing to hold space for different perspectives on things, and I'll take what makes sense and leave the rest. And, like, you know, who are we, right? Like, that question, like, sometimes I think we're just like an observer, you know, and just like being aware of that, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I always ask that too. Like, I think we've all asked that. Like, why are we here? What's our purpose? People struggle with that, and it gets right into philosophy, then, which I love. It's like thinking, like, these are the things I sit and think about, and I think all of us do. That's how I kind of look at when I look at something. I'm very much like you. I will look at most things, and it doesn't, and thoughts can change very, as more information, as I just said, as more information comes in, you have to be willing to change or your thoughts and then be open and very flexible, because as you're getting more information, things, I don't want to be rigid or stagnant. Like, I'm always trying to learn and find out things, and sometimes I'm wrong about things, but the way I look at the earth is I look at it from two sides. Like, I look at it from two different points. I know what I've been taught since I was born. I know all the things that most of us that are listening and were taught in school and things that we were told. And then on the other side, I know what I observe and I know what I feel, and I go by. And so I'm open to both. And I've never said what the world, I don't know what this place is that we are living on. I think we're all searching that. But at least I'm willing to look at both sides. I keep saying, like I just said, I'm on both sides. I got what I learned in school. I'm not smart enough to understand all of the calculations and all these things that they teach, and all of it's such a big thing, and I'm not smart enough. I just not to understand all the logistics of it and that. So I go by what I learned in books and what teachers told me. Until any of us can get up high enough to see anything, we don't know 100%. You can't say 100%. You have to leave a little bit of room.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, that's all I'm saying. Like,
Right.
And on that, like, if we're going to go there, then the only thing I would say is that we live inside the earth on a concave structure, because that's the only reason that there would be any reason to validate the flatness is because we can prove it by zooming in with a telephoto lens past the distance that we're supposed to be able to see because of the curve. So it ruins the numbers, making the ball not right. It makes it not work.
That reminds me.
So real quick, and then real quick. So then flat is just an observation. Again, it's an observation. Then people in the 1897 took it upon themselves, and I've posted this video and I've talked about it before, but ultimately the physical proof that we have on this plane of existence is that it curves up. We also have that when jets go faster, they have to fly more up. We have the plumb bob experiments that are down in a mine shaft, 1 mile down, 1 mile apart, 8 inches apart. Weird, not right. Showing, and again, I don't know because we can't prove it. But again, if we're going off of empirical evidence, I'm going to say that we're in the ball, and I'm still going to say that it appears flat because it does. End of story. So, I mean, again, you got to be willing to go there. Well, damn, it's a ball. Yeah, but did you ever think we're on the inside of it? Now, what do you think they would say to me? How retarded would I be then?
I mean, we're all in, like, God's mind anyway, so.
I'm just saying we don't know what it is, so you have to be open to all of it. And this dude has a 6-hour presentation on why you're on the inside of a ball. And it's like, wow, really? I had to watch it because it's like, really? And I mean, all he did was convince me. It's just like, well, I mean, unless somebody can prove it better. He says just the way light works, yeah, it appears flat. I mean, and then all these other proofs are like, but it ain't. And it's like, well, it's very interesting. And that's all I'm saying is, like, how can you find out what it really is if you're not willing to look? I'll give up flat earth like that when somebody shows me what it really is. And I've never said that I really thought it was flat. I said it looks flat, and it does.
Right.
So it's cool to me. It's fun. It's interesting. And it's not worth it's not worth stagnating. Because in this age that we're in right now of just all this information is coming out, and your intuition is awakening, like, most likely you're wrong about most things. So you're going to have to, as things, and be malleable and be able to bend like a reed in the water to get yourself to where that's the truth. Oh, okay. It was kind of what you thought, but and then here and then there. And if you're going to be, you're going to break, dude, and you're not going to make it. It's just that simple. So, yep.
Right. Well, you guys were talking about Game of Thrones earlier. I wanted to plug the idea that he actually that world is concave. The Game of Thrones world.
And dude, they show it on Vibes of Cosmos, shows you on the Mars map where, what's it called, Asgard? Or what isn't that their world?
Yeah, the other plane, yeah.
Yeah, he shows it. Dude, he shows it in exacting, it's like this is where they got it. Now, so Vibes of Cosmos says that Earth is, so like when you look up at the planets, when you see up, it's like an electromagnetic layer. So like Mars is like the mass of area all around us. So clearly they're saying that it's not like that we're in a system and that there's just land all around. And that would be Mars. And then he would zoom out further to Jupiter. And then it shows how that whole thing is in that little bubble on Jupiter as part of the storm. So like it just keeps going up in layers. And like that's so. And
well, this is a similar concept to like the sort of soul journey through the various like planets, and each planet has like a different, I mean, ultimately, like, and like the way I see it is like I'm aware that there's a multi-dimensional reality, and like this idea of flat or round, it like it doesn't, like, what is flat or what is round from another dimension, like from another dimensional perspective, like it's all a dot, you know? And so like it doesn't really like,
well, and that's
you know
true.
What I mean?
But here it is actually something. You know what I'm saying? Like we do actually have a reality here, and that's all. I just want to try to figure out what it is, and it can change for sure, like within different dimensions. I mean, then who knows what's going on there? But like that's why I consider it a plane of existence. You know what I mean? That seems to be here. The limits are what we've been told, which would look like an ice wall. Okay, and then our gas pressure. It makes sense. Ancients all talked about it, that there is a dome of some sort up above us, curved
Right.
whichever direction, that separates us from whatever the hell's up above, which a lot of them say water. So again, this isn't shit I'm making up. I'm reading the Bible and other ancient texts. They're all saying this stuff. And then we're witnessing phenomena like in that concave Earth video, it's the 6 hours of it. They were pointing out that at 100 kilometers, that's where that glass ceiling is. And they've got all sorts of phenomena that shows it. They talk about it on the news. They call it a ceiling. They don't say it's a glass ceiling, but they know that that's where we can't go past that spot.
Right.
So when what is it? I don't know. He calls it some weird kind of glass that like tektites. Ask people that want to tell you they know everything. Ask them where tektites come from, because even rock people will tell you they don't know where tektites come from. Their best guess, what they claim happened, is some meteor came in and slammed into the planet so hard that it fused with the sand here.
Oh yeah.
And made a new element. I mean, no, dude.
Well, I heard that like there's like nuclear blast glass in like the Indian Ocean or something. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah. There's and this dude talks about that glass too.
Yeah.
In deserts and stuff. And it comes from different, I don't know what you would call them, what he referred to them as, like meteors or something, but things that are on the other side of our firmament that zoom up along, and they basically are running along the inside of it so fast that the friction heats up, and I'm a glass blower, so I'm just saying, I mean, I understand how glass works. And so like when you can take a big spot of glass that's all solid, and if you only heat up one spot, only that spot's going to get liquid. So,
right.
And then it gets really hot and it breaks through that glass. It goes through it. The glass seals itself back up. That's where galaxies come from. When we look up and see galaxies, first of all, we're seeing a reflected layer. So all of our stars are reflected. So
right.
It's not the original. And when we see galaxies, the reason they're spiraling like that is because when those things would break through and the water that's up above it would start swirling around to come and flush through and seal it back up, it creates a spinning galaxy looking. I mean, this dude has answers for shit that you didn't even know were questions. You're like, oh my God. It's just crazy listening to him talk about stuff, because flat Earth and globe Earth don't talk about a lot of stuff because they don't have answers for it. So why bring it up if you don't know? And then this dude talking about we're on the inside of the ball, he brings all that shit up. He's got answers for all of it too. It's crazy. Again, it doesn't mean he's right, but that's what, if I'm betting on 3 at this point, it's a pizza with a lid, it's a ball, and we're on the outside, or it's a ball and we're on the inside. My money right now is ball inside.
Also metaphorically, right? Like our eyes, they're like we're inside a ball, right? Like our eyeballs are like we're inside of that, observing, you know?
Yeah, we're right, exactly. That's where we feel like we are, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, perspective is important. I was saying that a few days ago because I draw a lot and stuff like that. Being an artist, perspective is so important. And you have to understand that. Like a lot of people I don't think realize how their vision even works and how your perspective works. It's interesting. It really is when you start really looking into perspective and stuff. It's like, and I don't know how many people dive that deep into topics like that. I just find it really fascinating just because of the artist side of me. I was always, drilled when you're doing certain drawings. Like it's really key. And if your perspective's off a little, everything gets messed up. Like, so it's really interesting how our eyes work. And when you start looking into that and realizing that we don't really have great vision, like when you think of other animals that are on the planet, like cats and dogs and stuff, they have this incredible vision, and ours is really not that good.
Right.
Dude, I saw a thing where they showed what it looks like to be a deer.
Oh my God, that'd be cool.
Looking at a tiger. And dude, and then it goes, and then it's like, and here's what a human sees. And you're like, oh shit, there's a tiger 10 feet in front of me. Oh, dude, tigers disappear to deers. So that's why tigers will just stop moving.
Wow.
And they'll be like, oh, damn. And then the deer's like all looking around like this. And you're like, dude, haul ass. And like, no, they can't see shit. It's weird, dude. They're like, this is the spectrum of a deer's vision. And it changed. It went a little bit black and white, but there was still some color. It's like kind of green. And then you're looking and you're like, where'd the tiger go? Boom, he pops right. He's right there, dude. It's like,
that's crazy.
Shit. Yeah, the only thing you could see on him was like his eyes. And if you're not looking for eyes, I mean, it's huge body appears when it flips it back to the other lens. You're like, oh shit. Yeah, it would have been over. So certain animals, and then, like what butterflies can see in like 10 different spectrums further out than we can or something.
Dragonflies too.
Yeah, they've got like 1 million times the cones and rods in their eyes that we do or something. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
What are they experiencing?
This conversation reminds me of like when I was doing have either of you heard of EMDR?
EMDR. Don't think so.
It stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing. I did it sober after I had a couple miscarriages during the scamdemic. So it was a really hard time, but it was very effective in healing that trauma and pretty much like all my traumas, honestly. But at one point, going back to this idea of perspective, I remember seeing my life and it was like a flat plane. Like it was just like this flat grid. And then like later on, it became like a pyramid and shit. And I saw other stuff, including like my babies as orbs coming back into me. It was a crazy experience. And it was I was like, I saw all these things and I was sober.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I want to do an art piece.
Was it like a guided meditation kind of thing, or?
Yeah, it was pretty much a guided, but it wasn't really guided. Like I was sort of reporting back on what I was seeing. Yeah.
Oh, so what was it like? He said, do this, and then you did it, and then sit back and tell me what you see, kind of thing. How'd it work?
Yeah, so you have to go back to the moment of trauma, and then so that can be really, like some people just like need several sessions just to go there. So like I went to the moment of miscarriage, and then you kind of hold that space, and then you go back to like a safe image. So like for me, it was like a beach, and then I went back to the moment of trauma. And so you kind of like go back and forth in time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start seeing it from another's perspective. So in this instance, I started seeing the scene from my baby's perspective, like my deceased, looking from their lens into the scene. And then they just started showing me shit.
Wow.
Like at one point I saw like my ancestors and like in like cloud form, and I was like telepathically told that like I was like dealing with all their karma too, and like but yeah, just like I think going back to this idea of like perspective and like and just holding space, like I can't to this day explain what I saw, but it felt really real. And like yeah, I try my best to allow for mystical experiences, that I may not be able to ever explain.
Well, I have a friend who I'll just mention her, Courtney. She's the one that does the energy work, Rick, that I was telling you about, and she also does Thai massage, and I work out with her, etc. I'm going to work out with her tomorrow, actually. When she went to Egypt, she started crying when she was telling me about her experience. I just like kind of like inadvertently, like the emotion kind of came out of her when she was explaining how real these visions were that she was being shown when she was in Egypt. She was like, I don't think other people were seeing what I was seeing. She was like, I was about to lose my shit a couple of times, because she was like, I was somewhere else, dude, like completely somewhere else, and like in these all over. She said she went to places where she knew it was Atlantis, and all these saw all these different things. And I was like, well, was it like, were you walking around there? She's like, no, it's kind of like like visions, right? But she's like, they were so real that you really felt like you were there, and like you were really in it, and it would just be real brief. It wasn't like for super extended amounts of time. She's like, I don't think I could have handled it if it was for really long times, because it was like literally going somewhere else. And so and I was like, wow.
I don't like claim anything when it comes to any dimension, because there is this other sort of like I imagine your friend went into an astral dimension, and it's like, how does one describe space then? So
there's like no space or time or anything. It's like I always wonder that too. I'm like, are you connected to the source of everything? I don't. Yeah, how do you explain it?
Oh, she got all worried, and she's not doing energy work right now, because she asked me, she goes, do you think I could be being deceived? And I said, it's totally possible. I said, but the work you're doing is not the devil's work. She's really worried about that. Her whole family, we're in the South, her family is like worried. And so she's like backing off a little bit. And I'm like, it is easy to be deceived. I mean, we are in the angel of light. This is that dude's world. So I said, but that's when all sorts of different, your intention, what you're actually doing, your emotion aspect about it, like all these things come into play when you're doing that stuff. She was, so we had a good talk, and I didn't tell her one way or another anything. It was just talking and sharing space with her about it, and giving my opinion, and at least allowing her to just hear my opinion, and not have someone think she's crazy when she's talking about it. You know what I mean? Because there's not a lot of people around here like that. So it was nice to let her do that, because it's probably a lot. I can only imagine. I mean, she's had this come on as like a gift very, very rapidly and very powerfully. So she's probably dealing with a lot. But anyway, it happens. And I know somebody that's seeing some like real stuff.
That's a great way to end the first hour, guys. Please, guys, this is an amazing conversation. Stick around. We will be back right after this break. Please stick around. Hour 2 is going to be an amazing discussion.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
to the Family Industrial Complex podcast here on Revolution Radio, Studio B, every Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Get fit, empowered, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Interrupt your normally scheduled programming to bring you this important broadcasting announcement.
Now is the time to explore your greatest potential, embracing truth, health, and wellness while discarding the system and exposing its corruption. Experience true freedom every Saturday night between 6 and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live from Studio B. It's the Jonathan Wright Show.
Find it right here at revolution.radio.
Welcome to Coffee Rants with Dan. I am the spiritual anarchist, Dan Arnold, your host. Tune in for what's really happening every Thursday. That's Thursday at 9 a.m. in Studio A on Revolution Radio. They keep us in fear to manipulate us. They want us ignorant so we're easier to enslave. They make us murder one another so they don't have to do it themselves. Only you can break their mind control by healing the contradictions within your belief systems that allow you to accept their lies in the first place. The time has come for us to remember our divinity, who we really are, to return to what we are meant to be, a service to others, to return to nature, and to reclaim our birthright, that which is freedom. The truth will sound belligerent because it is in direct opposition to lies. So get angry, because anger is sacred, and together we can unite and rise. Rise from this darkness. Humanity, assemble.
Fire.
Crosstalk with Sarah Cross, a place for radio wanderers to learn about the highest laws and other related topics, with the occasional stroll through more relaxed notions. Every Wednesday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern, or 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Crosstalk with Sarah Cross, Studio A on Revolution Radio.
I will defend myself against their tyranny. Number 3 is my radio broadcast. I'm squarely in front of the public all the time, and they all know what's going on.
Well, we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on for expanding its sphere of influence.
Hello, my name is John Wayne, and I do a broadcast here at freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, called The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
Freedom and fear are at war.
And folks, I assure you, we are in Defense Condition 1, as we journey perilously through this paradigm that we currently reside in. And I ask that you join me every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
We'll never surrender.
The original machine had a base plate of pre-famulated amulite, surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing, in such a way that the two swerving bearings were in a direct line with a panometric fan. The lineup consisted simply of 6 hydrocoptic Marsal vanes, so fitted to the ambifacient lunar wane shaft that side fumbling was effectively prevented. The main winding was of the normal Lotus-O deltoid type, placed in panendermic semi-boloid slots of the stator, every 7th conductor being connected by a non-reversible tremie pipe to the differential girdle spring on the up end of the gram meters.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio, taking the confusion out of transmutated lunar girdle springs for 4 years and running. Revolution Radio, the #1 listener-supported alternative media radio on the planet. All right, thanks for listening while we take that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And yeah, we're going to get back to your host.
There we go. That was not too long. I promise you we'll be back. It is hour 2. We have a great guest here, Jonathan. I'm enjoying this conversation. And this is the type of conversation I like getting into, diving a little deeper into all these things, because I think we are just asking the questions, what is going on in this world we live in? Do we really know?
Exactly. It's kind of like that at the end of The Mind Unveiled. He has got a really good little saying at the end of his, at the, what does he say? It's something, I'm not going to get it right, but like, ask yourself, do we truly know what this world is, or something like that? That's like the last little bit. And it's like, exactly. No, dude, we don't. And it's more fun to know that and accept it and just go, well, it'll be fun finding out.
Yeah.
There's all the buried cities, dude, buried stuff. And then there's like melted shit. And then
the stuff in the Vatican, like we talk about, what's in, God, I love to get into those vaults.
Dude, and then drones and orbs and weird alien dudes going into portals being opened by the Vatican on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, what is up with that?
We live in dude, it's out. It's open. They're out. They're like, well, it is what it is. What are they going to do now? You know what I'm saying? They're like, we don't have that much time left. That's where they're at. They're like, we don't care anymore. Screw you. Yep, we're lizards. You know what I mean? Like, did you see that row of people on that one TikTok? It's just like, dude, it was all these, I don't know what you call them, the guys that wear the fish hats in the
bishops or whatever. Yeah.
Call them bishops. So, dude, their faces were all lizard-like, bro, and all warped out and evil. And like, dude, these people aren't even waiting to get through the thing. They're just like, nope, doing it now.
They don't even hide it now.
I believe adrenochrome partly is what helps them keep it might not even be adrenochrome. It might be some other enzyme in the blood. But I've heard that young child's blood is what helps them keep their human form.
Yeah. Well, and going back to this idea of like truth and perception, right? Like, it's one thing to read a book about someone saying it, and it's another to like listen to the people going through the experience. So like, I always try to follow like satanic ritual abuse survivors and hear what they have to say about the actual like experience of adrenochrome harvesting and seeing interdimensional entities possess humans. I believe them. Like, and there's so many people, Kathy O'Brien, Annika Lucas, Jay Parker, that are reporting the same thing from different decades, different players, but similar, rituals and circles. And so, it's like when you are confronted with disparate sources saying the same thing, what can you conclude but they're telling the truth,
Yep, exactly. And I've interviewed a few satanic ritual abuse survivors. I couldn't even post these interviews on YouTube. They had to go on my Rumble channel. So I always tell people in the chat, if you're listening or anyone listening, go to my Rumble channel, Crypt Ricks. I've been thinking, all one word, and go check them out, because they would never fly on YouTube. They were really disturbing interviews, and I got another one coming up, hopefully in February, with another survivor on my Monday show. And you're right. I mean, there's something, the stories are very similar from all people that I talk to. There's a main thing that goes on, like a main line of that they talk about, and it's really disturbing.
Yeah, that's actually what sort of started kickstarted things for me when I was 8. My priest tried to molest me, and when I went to tell my parents about it, which he specifically told me not to do, because I don't know, this voice told me to run away when it was happening, and I just locked myself in a bathroom, and then he kept knocking on the door asking me to come out, telling me I'm sorry, and that to not tell my parents. And so I just knew it was fucked up that he was asking me to like lie down on a bed with him. So even though I didn't know what sex was at the time.
How old were you?
Anyway, yeah, so like
no, how old were you?
I was 8.
8, okay.
Yeah. And so like when I having gone through a childhood experience like that and not being believed, as an adult, I seek out the testimonies of people that, you know, I could have swapped places with easily. Like I could have easily, because my parents were like really active in their Catholic church growing up. And so we would have priests, cardinals coming in and out of our house, staying at our house all the time. And so I could have easily, you know, been part of that. And so I've always had this place in my heart for all of those children going through that stuff. Because it's like, I mean, can you imagine going through that and just on top of it not being believed? Like how horrible, you know? Like the least we can do is like hold space for them. I've even talked to like Christians to kind of like get them to think in a different way, and I'm like, you know, I listened to this amazing testimony from these satanic ritual abuse survivors, and they're like, I don't want to hear it. And I'm like, really? Like you can't even. It's too dark. Like, well, how do you think the children felt? You know,
right. There's like a verse in the Bible where it says something about like I can't remember where it is, maybe in Matthew or something, but it's something about if you're when your mind then always keep it on the good things, and it basically tells you to not focus on the dark or the bad or the evil, just focus on good and happy and positive. Happy family, all will be well. Like it says.
Well, that's a psyop, right?
Well, of course it is. There's multiple psyops in that book, but that's one of them. And that's one that they really cling to, though, because it allows them to just ignore shit. You're like, see, my book says so, so nope. I'm like, God, you're so dumb. But you eat pigs? Well, that's for the Jews. What? I mean, the shit that people will say that follow the Bible to justify their way through it. I mean, it's insane. But whatever, it is what it is.
Well, and it sucks because it's like there's some half-truths in there too, and it's like, you know,
real truths in there. There's real truths in there. It's just how are you reading it? It's not how they've told you. Huh? Right. They tell you what that story means, and then the translations were a little off, and that word actually was this word. Oh well, that changes everything. Shit. So that's why I don't just buy into that book. No.
And you never get anybody to agree on anything. That's what I run into. Like everybody has a different way of breaking it down.
Different denominations, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, nobody's agreeing on anything. That's why I look at the Bible as good lessons. Like, I mean, I look at it in a deeper, like the esoteric. I like going a little deeper, and then you have just the people that go to church and listen and what the preacher says or the priest or whatever. But then you have people that really dive in and try to figure it out. It's personal, I think. I think it's exactly what you guys are saying. I just find nobody agrees on anything with it. Right. They're all like, you know, we're right. No, we're right. Everybody's religion is right, and the other ones are all wrong. And I'm like, this is not what it's meant to be.
Well, the best thing I found for the Bible is to just let other people tell me what it means, and then put my own version of it together based on all the different things I've heard. Because, dude, you just got to pick up a different version. Somebody telling you what it means, and you get a different version. Doesn't matter who. Everybody's going to have a little bit different. So then it's up to you. Because I've tried to read that book so many times. I know everybody would say, well, then read it for yourself. Nah, I've tried, dude. I've tried. I've begged. I've prayed to God, please help me want to read this thing. I can't do it. So I gave up, and I'm like, clearly God's not in that book. Because I have a relationship with God. I know this. And he was not driving me into that book. And I was asking for it, and it wasn't really happening. So I'm like, I guess I gave up after a while, and I was like, oh, well. And I just stopped letting it bother me. But now that time has gone by and 20-something years has happened since then, and I'm like, well, dude, all I've done is like listen to what other people tell me the Bible means. Just because I can't help it. That's what they're doing. They're running their mouth. This is what the Bible means. Okay, I'll listen to what you say. And then you hear all these people say all this shit. And somewhere in there, you find this thing that works for you. For me, I have. And with my own thoughts on it, too, and from other sources as well. And, you know, that's kind of where the Christians flounder a little bit. They don't, that other sources thing, they don't incorporate that. Oh, if it's not from the Bible, it's the devil.
Right. Yeah. Well, and therein lies the majority of my issues with that particular organized religion, but any that claim to be correct, and anything outside that potentially could be critical is seen as heresy. And it's like, if you truly are in on the shit, like if you truly have the truth, what does it matter if someone's offering a question or asking, having some sort of skepticism, like, wouldn't you welcome that if like if you can't even like hold a conversation, you know what I mean? Then yeah.
It says itself. It common senses itself into being wrong based on what you just asked.
Correct.
If you can't have a conversation and just annihilate it just by discussion, not even necessarily meanly or anything, it's just like you can break that down with the truth. But if you can't do that, well, then you ain't got the truth, Jack.
Well, a lot of people refuse to do what you just said, Jonathan, as you know.
Yeah,
lot of people,
because of that, because they've put their ego into this thing so much. They've made it a part of their layer, a really big one.
Right.
You don't start poking around at it, because boy, they will get pissed off.
Well, and I think, I actually am thankful for the short role religion played in my life, in that it offered a space for me to walk across between atheism and my sort of open sense of spirituality that I have now. Like, I remember when I was going through my own addiction recovery process, I really, earnestly tried to go through the 12 steps. And I did have like a kind of born again Christian moment where I was like singing in the chorus and like fucking, going to church every Sunday and reading the Bible and all this shit. And then I realized like this is like a prescribed way of connecting with source, and I'm closing myself off to different perspectives if I stay here. And I reminded myself of the experience as a child when I had my priest situation. I realized like just because someone wears a certain amount of vestments or reads certain texts doesn't mean they're any closer to God. Like, it's just another human being. And so but it was helpful. It helped me get out of addiction. Religion helped me, and it was a useful tool, and now I don't need it,
Right. Yeah, right. Which is what it should be. It's a story. It's a step ladder. It's a step ladder for when you put your big boy pants on and now you don't need the step ladder.
Right.
You realize you're big enough to do it yourself. That's what it is. It's a metaphor in a million ways for that, That's how I see it. So that's
really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I just think about me, because I went to in public school, from grade 1 to 8 here in Canada. It's called public school, but I went to a Christian one. I've talked about that too, and that really was, I didn't work for me. Like, I just questioned way too much. But it was definitely a good part of my journey. I think it just started me questioning things and stuff like that. And I agree with what you guys were saying. Like, it's really interesting when you start asking questions, like tough questions, how upset they get. And and it's like, really, like, you think you'd be trying to help me understand it, or maybe even praise me for thinking, thinking outside the box and kind of asking these questions. But normally they just got really upset with me. Yeah. And so it kind of turned me away from it for a long time. I kind of like drifted away from it. But I get what you guys like. It was really important. I think that's a great point that you made.
Mm-hmm.
Like that bridge. It's this quest that we're on, and we're all on it. We're all on different steps of it and different parts of it, and we're all at different levels of it. That's something I had to realize. That we're not all on the same plane, right. Like playing field.
Yeah, and because a lot of people can intuit this stuff. They don't need a book at all, dude.
Right.
You're not going to find God in a book.
It is built into us.
Yeah.
Those books are meant to jumpstart stuff. And then the creepy, freaky Masons that get a hold of it and write it in their little weird things, they think they're actually doing people a favor or something to do that. Like the ones that think they're doing good. They're like, well, we're putting it in such a way that it'll ignite the flame in man and blah, blah, blah. They actually believe that weird poetry shit. There's just weird people out there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, well, what it is doing, it is the religion itself. Doesn't matter all their little fancy little secrets and stupid shit. The religion itself is, like what you said, waking some people up. It's that they and it's done this way on purpose, of course. It's you're meant to stop there. It's meant to be the flypaper. That's like, oh, you mean all I have to do is believe in Jesus? Mm-hmm. Well, because yesterday I didn't, and I say I do now today. So how is that? How do I prove that? You come to church all the time. Oh, okay. And on Wednesdays. I mean, really? Seriously, how else do you do it? And if you're a brand new Christian, you're kind of maybe worried that maybe God thinks it's bullshit. Maybe you think it's bullshit, and you're telling yourself you believe, and you haven't done it long enough to really believe yet. I mean, that's what a belief is. You have to make it up, and you have to convince yourself of it. And different things can do that, right on, but whatever. Like, that's why knowing is much better. So, and a lot of people, men more than women for sure, need a book. Well, if it's real, it's in a book somewhere, and I get that, because yes, it damn well should be. But then the problem is man wrote that down. That same dude that was like, it's in a book somewhere. That's the dude that wrote it for me.
Which we do know has been manipulated many times over history too.
That's what I'm saying.
Which is another important thing. Like I always said, I think of our journey it's so personal, and it's something that I think it always seems to come back to the journey of finding who you are and asking yourself these questions. And I find if you spend enough time asking the questions, talking, being open-minded, reading certain things, I mean, it all kind of comes into play, that you do get the answers you're seeking. You just have to, I guess I've heard it in a movie somewhere, I'm sure, you just have to ask the right questions. And that comes with exploring and being very open to information and discussing and searching, which is what I'm doing. And my spirituality journey it's always growing. But it's not coming from a book. It's coming from looking in myself and being out in nature, like connecting. And I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I think most people don't understand what I'm saying. It's hard to explain for me. But I'm on this constant journey, and it's so exciting to me when you start exploring and being open to information and trusting, I guess, how you feel inside, like your intuition. I think we've lost that ability too. Like we doubt ourselves, that gut feeling or what I don't know.
Well, I think you're speaking to these layers that society puts on us when it comes to identity, right? And that we adopt as us, when, like you said, we're just a fractal expression of the divine, and we're connected already. And if we can just be with that essence that's within us. Sorry, John.
I see him back there.
Yeah, I was trying to get John in. John, do you want to
get over here?
John is watching my freaking kids.
Oh,
that
nice.
I can be on this freaking podcast with you. That's how amazing John is.
Cool. Right on.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
He's so awesome.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
I lost my train of thought because I just
were you speaking about layers of society?
Yeah. So going back to this idea of essence. Sorry, my kid's gonna join us on the.
That's okay.
Hold on. This is Zaire. Here, let's see. So yeah, I kind of want to get kids back in nature and back. This is Zaire. Hey. Going back to nature and just going back to that essence, right? I feel like my adulthood is being spent trying to reconnect to my inner child, and let's just fast forward through those decades and allow kids to be kids during their childhood,
Yep. I feel like I was ahead of the curve on this one. Finally, I never grew up, man. I've always been a kid. And almost to the point of immature, you know what I mean? And still get everything done, be responsible. Once I got sober, that really proved it to myself that I was an adult, I started my own job. I did all this adult shit. And it really gave me a lot of self-confidence, but I never changed my attitude, my playful attitude, my childlike wonder of things, all these things. And And since I've started doing Thai massage, since I've been receiving Thai massage specifically, I've been healing a lot, and I think a lot of it was coming from inner child stuff. And then I've been kind of focused on it mentally too a little bit. So I'm just, it's been nice to kind of be focused on that and know that that's so nurtured in me, just because it's so important to have that aspect of yourself.
Well, yeah, and just like touch, like I remember when I was in my addiction recovery process, I was journaling and asking myself, well, what did I do when I was a child? And I was like, oh, I used to wrestle with my brother. And so I joined jujitsu, and I did that for like a year and a half, and I got really into it. And like, I remember the first time I did my role, I was sort of startled because like I hadn't been touched before in that way, in like a playful, like it wasn't actually combative. It was playful.
Right. Sure.
For the learning of a skill. And we were supporting each other's learning, and to do that in a healthy, playful setting that's not where I wasn't in actual danger, and where and it wasn't sexual either. Like, so much of touch is like we should touch our children, we should touch each other, like, and it doesn't have to be, it can just be a loving, healing thing like massage, or it can be a playful thing like jiu-jitsu,
TV and movies have made it weird. It's not weird to do. I mean, families, that's where Thai massage comes from, is that the grandparents would teach the kids, because the grandparents had become masters, and the kids were sponges and had bodies to be able to handle doing a bunch. So then the parents would come in from working in the fields all day, and then the kids would give the parents Thai massage and just make them feel better.
That's cool.
And I mean, dude,
I love that.
Oh God, dude. And so yeah, you
think of that, Jonathan. Like I just watched a documentary not too long ago about how important touch is, and there is definitely a war on touch. You saw that with COVID, this 6 foot thing. I think with social media, we're losing that connection of touch. And then I always knew touch was important. Like I'm like with my wife and that, and I'm very touchy feeling, like you're, like not in a sexual way, like it's being said sometimes, but touch and stuff is so important. And they're definitely, you can see them trying to break that. And it's really interesting. It's interesting when you realize how important touch is, especially what was fascinating was the touch of a mother and their child, like, especially when they're first born, like that initial, they're born and they mother right in the mother's arms in that bond. That's something that is so sacred and so important. And I mean, back in the day, I'm assuming when there was a birth, that they went right to the mother, and the mother was holding them. That, but what do they do now? Everybody I've talked to that's had children, they take the child. Most of the time, they just whisk it away, and there's doctors all around and nurses all around. And I know people are trying to get away from that. I'm hearing more and more people. I've interviewed a lot of ladies that are doing natural home births and stuff like that, which is great to hear. But my point is being like this touch from our moment of birth, like them probably before, as weird as that sounds, even when you're in the womb and you see the mother rubbing your belly and stuff, there's something with this.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I think you're right. I think especially for men, like I've seen John with his friendship with our friend Bob, and like I think their friendship's beautiful, and like I think your guys' friendship is beautiful, and like men are socialized to not touch each other and be intimate with each other in a way that's like non-sexual and just comforting, like why not, like it's women, I feel like we're socially accepted. It's socially accepted to hug each other, but like not like men with men in a way that like, that's gay, but it's not gay,
When I was at my father just a few months ago was having a lot of health problems, and my friend brought me up north to see them. And I remember talking to my mom about my dad, and I started breaking down, and my best friend put his hand on my shoulder, and I don't know, it was so powerful. It was just him putting his hand on my shoulder. I don't know if it was like I knew, like it just, I don't know how to describe it. It just made everything better, knowing he was there, and just that touch on my shoulder. I was like, it was an energy. I don't know. It's something with it. Like, it was so powerful. I just still remember that I just felt so much better with just him putting his hand on my shoulder. I don't know. Maybe I knew he was there for me. He understood what I was going through. He felt my pain. It's interesting. I love this topic.
Aww. Well, and like literally oxytocin, right? Like on a chemical level that's like released, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
And them trying to just break that connection in so many ways, and it goes so deep because the touch connections being broken, the family connections being broken. Like, you can see them systematically trying to target these things that we're speaking about. And I think that's because they fear it. I think they know how powerful what we're speaking about is.
I've seen a lot of reactions from people, just working on them with my hands just in the few months.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
I mean, some people almost nothing, right? Just like you would expect. Some people are like, cool, that was neat, thanks. And then some people, it's like life-changing almost. It's like, wow, cool. Because I experienced it. It was life-changing. And so it's just nice to see someone else be able to get that out of it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, to me, it was just, I didn't even know this was a thing. You know what I mean? Like, wow, I wish I could have been doing this for a long time ago. Oh, you know, because you just, and my muscles are starting to get straightened out now. And it's just, there's still some more to do, but I can just feel that they're properly where they're supposed to be. And just thinking back how whatever they had contorted up into, like, it worked. My legs still worked, but like my muscles were all just, I don't know, just had gone into this weird contorted thing that still worked, but it's not proper. So like just prying it down. Oh, dude, the pain sometimes too. And it almost makes me wonder why. You know what I mean? It's like, well, and I do know why, because it had twisted around to a point that I had lost probably a certain percentage of mobility. Type of stuff you never really do, though. Gymnastics type stuff. Like, oh, I can't do this, you mean? But see, the thing is I could with this leg. I wouldn't still almost ever do it, but if I sat down to stretch or whatever, I'm like, look what this leg will do, you know? And then I'd come over and then I'm like, on this leg, I can do some of it, but then when I come here, it's like, So there was something in there that was just blocked up, like, and weird. And so now we've been digging into it, and it's, God, dude, it's connected to my shoulder. It's connected to my abdomen. It's connected to my neck, which connects to this. So honestly, it's from here and then all the way down, and then backing around through the back, and then all the way down to the top back part of the hip, and through the hip, and then over the front top and to the top part of the femur, and that main muscle that runs down your leg, the quadratus femoris. That's where the injury started. So it goes from there all the way up to, dude, here. Crazy. Everything had to adjust over time to compensate. It's crazy. Yeah. So when you're unwinding it, you find all the things that need to be unwound, and it's the pain level sometimes is just ridiculous. But then you go back and it's not like that. You're like, oh, I mean, it still hurts, but not as bad. And then some of it gets better to the point where now it feels good. Stuff that would have been agonizing now actually feels really good. So there's that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely, like, progress is being made, so it's good. So yeah, it's all about touch. Yeah. You can sense, like, the minute I touched my teacher when she was like teaching me, you know, like I just went to her and was like, will you teach me? And she's like, I will. So she's like, so how we're going to do this is I'm going to start through this routine. And she showed me a routine that was written down on paper. And I'll do the first 3 steps or 4 steps, whatever, on you. And then we'll switch. I'll lay down, then and same stuff. So it'll be real simple. Okay. So, and she said the first time I touched her, she's like, I could feel the energy in your hands all the way up in my hips. That's what she's like, I knew you were going to be good at this the minute you touched me. I was like, oh, cool. I mean, I had no idea. I was like, okay. And I did. I got really good really fast, like, and felt like I've done it before after a couple of months of doing it. And
maybe you have in like another
life. Yeah.
For sure. Every single time I would do it, I was better. I could tell I was better every single time I did it for like 4 months in a row. I was like, damn, dude, I just keep getting better. And it wasn't like, it was weird because I wouldn't think about it. I would always say a prayer before I would work on anybody. And I would say, just guide my hands to where they need to go. And my intuition will take me there. I would always say that. And I would just start working on them, and then
That's interesting. What do you think, Jerry? Do you think we keep coming back? Do you think we're repeat guest here?
Repeat offenders?
Yeah, I was going to say repeat offenders. I'm like, that's kind of harsh.
I do think that there appears to be a plethora of different souls at different stages of their journey. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And like in the great work, like we're appealing to those that are in their kind of like more advanced stages of their journey, right? But not to say that we're better, but just like it's just different. Like I don't think, like for example with religion, like I think there's a time and place for that in someone's journey. And some people stay there the rest of their lives, and some people choose to gather what they can from that experience and move on. But yeah, I do think there appears, well, I had this crazy like past life regression where like,
oh, please tell.
Yeah, so like I talked about this on a live already with my ET friends, because they're actually having a live right now. Yeah, so like I had this vision. I was like meditating, and I had this vision where like I was in Egypt, and like I looked down, and like I had these like cloven feet, like legs, like I was like half goat. And then I like was half woman on top. And then like, I think I might've been a, like some sort of like dark Atlantean animal hybrid, like goat woman thing. And then I also saw this, like, I was in like this temple of some kind, and there was like this orgy in my honor, and it was like some sort of Isis ritual. And like the only moment of happiness that I ever felt in that life was like when I was dancing in the sun. And that was like the only time I ever felt like connected and happy. And then I like came out of it. And that's what I fucking saw.
That's fascinating.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
That is so crazy.
I know, man.
I love Egypt. Like as soon as you said that you were back in Egypt, I'm like, God, I'm fascinated with Egypt for some reason. Always have been.
Right?
Always have been. Any shows I can watch on it or books I can read on it, I'm just fascinated about Egypt. I'm drawn to it for some reason, that whole thing. So wow,
You were probably there, man.
I think maybe yeah, like why, yeah, I always wonder that too, like why do people get these interests on certain things? Like maybe it's because, like you said, maybe we were there.
It's definitely a potential that there's, you know, of that being real, you know, the aspects of us that lived in different lives and different times. Because I mean, it's very possible. And then, you know, something like this where I go and like people who have been doing this for years have said that I'm better than most people who've been doing it for years. In a couple months. What?
Yeah.
No doing, right? You know what I mean? Like I've got all my stuff where like all this stuff where I can like read all the muscles. So I've like done my due diligence and I've looked into the muscles and I've been trained by two fantastic, I mean 12 and 15 year, they're masters at what they do. So I learned from the very best, but again, how much can they show you? Right? Like to the point of like when you're actually working on somebody and everyone's different. And I would talk to her in the first few months and I would tell her like, oh, I'm learning all these things. And I'd say like, you know, people's shoulders and people's backs and people's legs and this and that. And and then after a while, it's like, it's just intuitive and it's really weird. And they're like, oh, you know, she said right away, she's like, oh, you've done this before. Yeah, for sure. She's like, you've got a gift. And it just very much seems like you've done this before because yeah, it takes people years to get that good. And I'm working on her. So she's telling me from like legit experience. And I'm just like, wow. Because at first you just kind of like, are you blowing smoke? Like, I don't need to be told I'm good if I'm not really. You know what I'm saying?
You're like, be honest with me.
Yeah, but no, several people said it, that we're all trained in this. And I'm like, wow, maybe I'm good. That's just weird. I would have never guessed either, ever. I mean, John is the reason I decided to start doing it, you know?
Sometimes I think like our past lives, like I'm very much devoted to the great work and like living like more positively, but like maybe I was an instrument for like dark mystical experiences, and in this lifetime I'm choosing, you know what I mean? Like maybe in the past life your hands were used for different purposes, and now they're for this other purpose, you know?
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because what do people say? How do you know love if you don't know hate? How do you know pain if you don't know, like what people say?
We
all
came
these
here to experience.
Exactly. So I could definitely see that. Yeah.
It's just that now we're kind of at an end time where I feel like we're living like we're and maybe even getting allowed to be convinced to, like, for example, Rick, your body. Let's assume, for example, that some of your disease is connected to some karma from a previous life.
I've thought of that so much.
If it is, then you were convinced to accept that. You were given an option, and they said, well, here's what you did, and here's what we think is a good fix. And then you went, okay. And then you chose to come through like this. I mean, to me, that's just without question. I mean, I guess people can say, well, that's bullshit. You can't prove that. No, I can't prove it. But to me, you didn't do anything you didn't choose. You just don't remember choosing it. That's why we're here. And that's why when we kill ourselves, they're like, whoa, dude, you signed a contract, bro, Cephas. You're not allowed to do that. So that's why you're in trouble when you kill yourself, in my belief. And I think that we really don't know what sovereignty is. And when you learn what sovereignty is, and then you die, and you understand that that didn't go anywhere, it's like some dude's going to come tell me, what? Who are you? Wait a minute, what? Rather than going, oh, yes, sir. Oh, my gosh, yes, sir. Because you're in some place where you don't know what's going on, and this thing's all big and loud and booming and telling you shit, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, I'm done being sorry. So we're at that point of our evolution internally, consciously, right?
Do you guys have birthmarks?
I do.
I have one little one, yeah.
I got one on my foot.
I've got little moles all over me, but I have what I would consider a birthmark.
So I heard this thing where your birthmark is a site of injury or where you died, how you died. So I don't want to tell you guys where mine is, but I died. If that's true, I died a really horrible death. I'll just say that.
Wow.
I must have my foot cut off or something. Or maybe I died from infection.
It's an infection, yeah, because mine's on my lower calf.
Yeah, I got mine right on the side of my foot. It's really weird spot for one.
Yeah. It's interesting. Again, it's part of the collection under the Vatican. You know what I mean? That explains these things. Because this is all stuff that we're guessing and conjecturing and hearing, oh, well, this guy said this or this teacher teaches this. And I mean, if we were really a collective and we're sharing information, we'd know. We'd know. And we'd know the stuff that we didn't know. See, and that's why it won't work like that here. Because this place is an ego-driven place, whatever you got. So whoever's in charge is never going to come out and be like, okay, well, let me lay on the table, first of all, what we don't know. And then here's what we do know based on that, right? No one's going to do that. They just aren't. They're not going to come up and like expose their weaknesses right up front. Here's the stuff we don't know. No. Even though that's how you get shit done.
Right.
Again, it's the ego. No one's going to come up. Donald Trump's not going to come in on the first day and be like, well, here's the things I don't think I'm going to get done. And here's the things I think are out of reach for us to accomplish, you know? And even though that would be ideal really for us to know that, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. If it was being legit, that would be the right thing to do. None of it's legit, so you can't even use that as a good example. That was a bad example, but
well, I think you're right. I think like ego is the death of wisdom, the death of knowledge, the death of truth, right? Like if you can find ways to, you know, move away from ego, through plant medicine, meditation. I mean, and just get to that observer essence.
Yeah. There's a good.
Like,
If you guys listen to Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
he just put a podcast up where he has a politician. I can't remember. I think he's a governor or something like that, and an army vet. And they're talking about this dude. It's an old psychedelic. I can't remember the name, guys. I'm sure people listening who listen to Joe Rogan. I still listen to him. I like his style of interview. So whatever. Some people love him, hate him, but he has these two on. If you watch it, it's the latest episode, and he gets into the plant medicine and the results they're having with PTSD and drug addiction and stuff like that. I can't remember the name of the drug though. That's it. Yeah, that's fascinating. What a great episode.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I was into hallucinogens for like when I was 20, and I learned about it, and there was no internet really, and it was the craziest thing, dude. This is how the universe lets you know you're doing the right thing or whatever. I went into a magazine store, which how many of those are there? None. There's like one.
Exactly.
There was one in my town. It was a little one, so it didn't have a bunch of shit. It had a few things. And one of the magazines that it had on there was called DMT.
Really?
I'm like, is that what? And then maybe there was like a word below it, like experience or explorer or researcher. I don't know. But I'm like, what the shit? So I bought it. It was articles about extracting DMT, where all the different plant life that contains DMT, where you can buy it. It had a whole article from Terrence McKenna talking about DMT.
What year was this again? Like around what year? Like how many years ago? 20 years ago? 10 years ago?
2001.
Wow, that's crazy.
No internet.
So you guys, have you done DMT?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh
yeah. What'd you guys see?
Oh, it was very cool.
I can't.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Rick.
Oh yeah. Finally, yeah. It was.
You tell us what you saw, Jerry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us how you did it and all that. Like what kind it was and what type and all that shit.
Oh yeah, sure. So I vaped it. And to vape it, it's sort of like a microdose. So if you really want to like hit hard, you got to like pull a lot. But I remember feeling like I was just putting on like these like virtual reality glasses, and like I was looking around, and like I just saw reality as it actually was, versus this like fake like 3D dimensional illusion that we're in. So, and then I remember whenever I would commune, I would always get this message of like just stop stressing, to like it's everything is well, like you're being neurotic, like stop being so anxious, like, you know, because I would ask things like, you know, like help me be, you know, more connected to the divine, help me, you know, help humanity, blah blah blah, and I just would get this message back like, we got this, you're in it too, you got your role, and just like chill, you know. Yeah, I don't know, what did you guys see?
I did vape too, and I would like to try, like, you know, the way in a pipe, you know, like the actual get the powder and do it in a pipe, like the way I see people doing it. I had to do a vape, and I found, like you did, you have to really hit it hard to get, I think, the same results you're getting the other way. But yeah, I just saw extra. It's so hard to explain, as you guys know. Like, people ask me what I saw, and I'm like, it's more of a feeling. I remember colors, and then a lot of geometry, like geometry shapes, I guess is the way to put it. Didn't see any elves. I didn't see anything like that. But I just remember geometry patterns. That's a word, right? Geometry, geometric. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a word. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, patterns like that, and just these amazing colors that I've never seen, like just all bleeding together. But I didn't get any messages, or I didn't hear anything. I didn't see any, like, you hear people say these clockwork elves and that. I didn't see any of that, but I did see geometry and amazing colors, and a weird, just a really peaceful feeling. It was so incredible.
Yeah, so I had it. Once it was offered to me at Bonnaroo, and I turned it down because it was so there's two types of DMT when you're talking about, like, from an extraction standpoint, like,
okay.
and there might be more even, but when you're coming from synthetic, but like there's 5-MeO-DMT, which is basically 5-methoxy-DMT. So it just means on the 5 carbon there's a methoxy group, and it's kind of the less hallucinogenic, more hot burning, oh god, this is wrong, bad kind of feeling is what you'll get out of it. So they say if you get DMT and it makes you feel like that, it's not bad DMT, it's that it's 5-MeO-DMT.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another kind, and damn, I just for the life of me can't remember what the good kind is, of course, what it's called. It's just another chemical variation of DMT. And that one, I did get some of that. Somebody brought it to me, and we were at my house, and it was you basically, if you know what a meth pipe looks like.
That's
right?
what I was trying to say. Yeah, that's what I want to try. Not meth, the way.
Right, but no, it's a little glass bubble.
Yeah,
with a top. Now this, you take and then you put a little dimple in the bulb, because you're not with meth. You want to roll it around and spread it out and all this shit. With DMT, you want it to stay in one spot, so you put a little dimple in that too. So there's a little pocket right at the bottom of the bowl. Anyway, so you heat that up. Oh, and you smoke it. Well, so it tastes like burning plastic. It's the worst taste you've ever. Oh, it's horrific. And that's how you know it's real for sure. And so my friend had to help me with the third hit. And you're supposed to take 3 really big hits,
right? Yeah.
And the third one is supposed to rocket shit you off to the elves. And I must have gotten enough in me to get to the spot right before there, because I didn't rocket ship off anywhere. And I just sat
I didn't do that either. Yeah.
And I was just like, I felt high, right? But not like out of my head high, like not confused or disoriented kind of high. And I remember it was dark, and we were sitting on my back porch on the patio, and then it went to grass and a bush. And I remember seeing the grass and the bush and just thinking, with moonlight, and I was just thinking, wow, that looks really alive. And then I'd look at the wood and the concrete and the chairs, and I'm like, that looks really dead. Like you can just see the difference in the, and I can't tell, it wasn't moving or anything. It was just like, you could see the life. It's weird. It's hard to explain. And then my buddy's like, I was just sitting there smiling because it just felt so good. I was in such a state of like, word. You know what I mean? Like I even said, I was like, if this is what it's like to be dead, then this is cool. You know what I mean? Like this is chill. And he was like, they were just like looking at me. They were like watching me like a TV show. And like, so I'm sitting over there, and then I look down into my right, and there's like this 3 foot tall, like as big around as like an extra large pizza, multi-layered, I'd say probably 8 layers of like stick figure drawings colored in Renaissance era shit, like claymation almost looking, cartoon-esque, but going into also real little people, like, and like you can see all 8 layers. So one layer is all geometry, just changing into other geometry, just
that's a layer I got to.
And it's like, but this was all contained in a thing, like I'm next to me. That's and I'm crazy, looking at all this, and I'm like, I get my face right up to it, and I'm looking straight down on it, and I'm like, I'm able to look at any layer I'm like want to focus on. I can see it. One layer is like just people walking around, like another layer is like Renaissance era people, like real life though, like it's like bustling, dude. It's like these people are doing shit. Like I'm like watching one of them walking around and shit and going to different shops and stuff. I'm like, what the shit? And then there's another layer that's just all geometry. And I don't remember what a couple of them were. And I just remember thinking, you know, like on acid, when I see this kind of like anywhere near this, which it wasn't, but like if I put my hand in it, it goes away. So I reached my arm down in this thing and touched the concrete through all that. And it just kept right on going all around my arm. I was like, wow, dude. And I just stared at that for a while. I mean, it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Like, so, I wonder if you can get that effect with the vape. Like, I've heard people say that it doesn't work as good as what you're describing. That's what I want to do, it is that way.
It tastes so bad. Oh, God. And you look crackhead doing it. You know what I mean? You got.
I know. I don't like that aspect of it.
Not only that, you've got a meth pipe and you've modified it. The meth pipe's not good enough. You've got to go more hardcore and modify it. I mean, so you either know a glass blower, in which case it's not that weird, or you have to like modify a meth pipe, which now you've entered a really weird realm of drug use. People are like, this dude needs a shop to do his drugs. This is weird.
Well, he needs a bent spoon and a Zippo lighter to really add to the effect. Jeez, but that pipe that you made me, that one that you made me out of the glasses, what a great pipe, man. Like, geez, you should sell those. They're so good.
Jerry, you should ask John to show you his. Has he shown you his that I made?
If it's what I think it is, did you make him a pipe with like kind of cool designs on it? Yeah, I've smoked out of it.
Isn't it awesome?
Very nice pipe.
Excellent.
Yeah. All my friends love it when they come over. Like, you got that pipe, and then I didn't want to use it at first because Jonathan sent me like a whitish one, and I was like, it's so beautiful, I don't want to use it. He's like, dude, when you smoke through it, that's when you're going to see the colors, and it all start to take shape. So I started. Then he was right, of course. It looks amazing now that's had the stains put through it and stuff like that. It just brought out all these colors, and I was like, geez, these are incredible.
When you clean it out now and then go back, it colors even a little differently.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like never almost the same thing. Well, it'll get to a point where it's not really going to do a lot more, but it changes for the first 2 or 3 times after you clean it too. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
This reminds me, like, eventually I want to talk to my kids about plant medicine because, like, I actually want them to explore, but I want them to do it after, because, like, I started, like, sort of dabbling in my late 20s, and I think that was a good time for like my neurological development, you know, but yeah, like if they do it earlier, whatever, there's nothing I can do about it. But
I agree. I didn't start doing drugs until I was like 18, and it was pretty much, I mean, I look back on it and I guess it was probably for that reason. I don't know. I had some sort of weird Nancy Reagan thing in my head. I was like, no, dude, that's wrong, bro. Like I was just
programmed into us.
I was fully programmed that drugs are just wrong, dude. And I'm like, the desire for what it might feel like wasn't even close enough for me to be curious yet. And then until it was. And then I went way overboard.
Well, they talk about that on that Joe Rogan show, the latest episode. Please check it out, guys. It's worth it because it really dives into what the word Jonathan said, whatever they called it.
Ibogaine.
That's it. I want to ask my doctor about it, but they get into the whole drug war and the lies that they told to pass these agendas in the government. It's just so messed up.
Yeah, they have to take people out on yachts into international water right now to do these Ibogaine sessions. A lot of them.
Yeah, I might be getting stem cell injections. I have to go to the US or Mexico because I can't do it here. Like it's just like, wow, I can't like it.
Well, if Trump takes over then Canada, then you'll be able to.
That's true.
I mean, that'll be another good thing, you know.
Yeah,
we've got about 45 seconds left or something like that. So I just wanted to say thank you again, Jerry. It was excellent to meet you. And,
yes, absolutely.
We didn't, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that we still have to talk about. So I would say that I would love to have you back on.
Part 2 for sure.
Yeah.
I love this show. This was great. Thank you for being here. And it was so great meeting you. I really enjoyed this. I needed this talk.
Yeah. You were feeling down at the beginning, man. And you seem like you're doing much better now.
Yeah, I'm really sore, but this is really helping. So thank you.
Aww. You guys are so sweet. I love it. Thank you for having me.
Right on. Well, cool. Well, and yeah,
we'll have you back.
You're very understanding because you kind of came in on a bit of a. I was being a little rough and I was having my sour moment. So, but I appreciate your your perspective on all that. So it was very very mature and very appreciated. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank everybody for listening for sure. And
absolutely.
I don't have any guests lined up for us for the next couple of weeks, so we'll either freewheel it or we'll find somebody in that next week. If you want to come back next week.
Maybe I could get John to come on with me.
Yeah, you guys should tag team it next week.
See if we can set that up. Talk to John and let us know.
Okay.
That would be awesome. And say hi to John for me, please.
I will.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, I'll be back tomorrow night, 7, 8 p.m., talking music. Have a great rest of the week, guys.
You're listening to Revolution Radio.